Do you remember the federal government's COVID alert app? If you don't, that's okay because nobody really used it and it didn't do all that much except tell you to stay home if, by chance, you were one of the handful of people who used the app and who admitted to being exposed to COVID and had mutual contacts that were also using the app. Now I can tell you about the COVID app's aggressive marketing campaign that had ultimately very little uptake. It's like normal people are not comfortable with the government knowing who all their friends are. If for some godforsaken reason you wanted to use the federal government's COVID alert app, you can't anymore because the government is now telling you to delete it and also telling you how to delete it. The app really wasn't on my radar at first because if hypochondriacs want to give the government access to their friends list, what has that got to do with me? Look, I don't get it. But if you want to violate the privacy willingly of yourself and your friends as some part of misplaced sense of civic duty, I guess knock yourself out. I just didn't want to have to pay for the whole thing. And apparently we did pay $20 million for the COVID alert app. But I recently uncovered a lot of information about the aforementioned aggressive marketing campaign for the COVID alert app that, as I say, no normal person used. It was in a Privy Council access to information filing about the Trudeau morning show. Do you remember those? Every day, like some marijuana-abusing groundhog, Trudeau would shuffle out of Rideau Cottage and address the fawning media about how he was saving us all from COVID before seeing his shadow, getting the munchies, and going back inside for another vigorous day of Netflix, Doritos, and stomping all over civil liberties. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's the thing, though. You never know what you're going to come across when you file for access to information. You may be looking for one thing like I was and find something else like I just did, caught in thousands of pages of emails. And here we are. Now, to support our independent access to information filings, please visit rebelinvestigates.com. Now, back to the COVID alert app. It claims to have identified, or rather helped identify, thousands of cases. Now, the app, though, had only been downloaded 6.9 million times. This is a country of 39 million people, and it was launched in July 2020 before it was decommissioned last summer. Now, British Columbia, Alberta, Nunavut, and Yukon designed to participate in the app wisely. Now, from the federal government's own data, about 57,000 users who tested positive for COVID-19 notified others of possible exposure. And COVID alert app notifications helped identify at least 2,446 confirmed cases of COVID, or about $8,200 per confirmed case. Just wow. Anyway, I can see how desperately the feds tried to get Canadians to turn over their privacy. And they reached out to almost everyone they could to help them. On page 10 of these documents, we can see that government bureaucrats are seeking out influencers and celebrities to promote the COVID alert app. The bureaucrats mention that Apple and Google are both working with the government to find influencers to promote their failed app. On page 11, federal government marketing targeted high schools and middle schools to promote the COVID alert app, sending the schools posters and emails to then send out to the students. Bureaucrats were also trying to get companies to promote the app as well. On page 27, we can see all the contacts with each company that the federal government was seeking to do advertising with and what they would promise to do to promote the app. It includes most of the banks, Amex, airlines, Walmart, the Video Game Association, and on and on and on. On page 98, the Prime Minister's office, naturally, desperately wants to know, quote, what is being done to promote this new Instagram sticker feature, unquote, to promote the COVID alert app. You take that, pandemic. Page 99, government staffers are working closely with Twitter for an emoji promoting the alerts app, which Twitter is supposed to be expediting the approval of. On page 12, so we're jumping back a little, Indigo turned down a meeting with the government to promote the app. That's kind of nice to see. On page 17, we can see the bureaucrats are desperately looking for people who love the COVID alert app to use as examples for Trudeau's morning show pressers. You see, that's how I got this information. I was asking about the morning show pressers, and they gave me all this other stuff about the COVID alert app. But unfortunately, with so few users of the COVID alert app sending so few alerts to their friends who also must love and use the COVID alert app for the whole thing to work well, Finding those people was virtually impossible. So what's the moral of the story here? Friends, it wasn't in your head. Everywhere you looked, there was something or someone telling you to download the government's COVID alert app. And every piece of junk mail you received also reminded you to download the COVID alert app. And yet, so many of you didn't. It's stories like these that restore my faith in my fellow Canadians. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. To support our independent access to information journalism like this, please consider making a donation at rebelinvestigates.com. And thank you to everybody in advance who donates to make this important work possible. We couldn't do any of it without you.